We believe that wealth is a journey, and that this is your jumpstart to trading success. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Traders Mindchat Show. I'm Mike.
And I'm Melissa, and today we're going to talk about how you can improve your trading environment. So there's two types of environments, right, Mike? There's the internal environment, and then there's the external. What's the difference?
Yes. So the internal environment has everything to do with your beliefs and your belief systems. Your external environment is the four walls around you, the what you're watching, reading, listening to, and the I'd say that the big difference between the two of them is that your internal environment you have absolute control over. You could change what you believe, what you don't believe, what you focus on. Your external environment you don't control, but you can manage.
So if we can control and manage our external environment, what would you say would be the first step in figuring that out?
You can't control the external.
Oh, so it's just managing.
Just managing it. Earlier when we were talking, you had a good example. Like, let's say it rains, right? You can't control the weather, but you can get an umbrella. You can go indoors, right? So that's how you're managing weather.
Oh, so we can't change the fact that it's raining, but we know how we could still maneuver and get through that type of environment.
Yeah, exactly.
I agree. So the first step sounds like it would be awareness.
That is the first step, right? So let's say for your trading, your external environment. Let's say you are you're working at a job. Right, and you're dealing with a lot of noise. Your environment is very noisy. You have a lot of noisy coworkers. They come, they bang on your door. Your boss calls you up, and in the middle of the day, is that a good trading environment if you want to try to be a day trader?
No.
Right, and you don't even day trade, and you know that's not a good environment for day trading. But if you are doing things unconsciously, then you might be trying to day trade in a shitty day trading environment like that.
But you can't just quit your job and go, okay, wait, no, this is not the right environment for day trading. So, like, what would your advice be in order to even analyze and see what your goal is? I guess that's the first thing, right?
Yeah, that is the first thing.
Awareness and then getting your goal.
Getting clarity on your goal is the first thing.
Mm-hmm.
Right, so if we're clear on where we want to go, we could figure out how to get there, right? Like earlier too, like we were talking about going to the in-laws, right? So
hi, Mom and Dad.
yeah, so if we wanted to get there, well, we could. But there's a couple of options to getting there, right? Like, well, we're not going to take the boat. Right? Because it's not going to drive very well down the street. But maybe we'll take the car. Maybe you could even take a bicycle. There's a bunch of different ways that we could get there if we wanted to get there. So when you know the destination, you could then figure out the route and the modes of travel to get you there. So if you wanted to be a day trader, well, you would say like, well, why is that the goal? Right? Like, oh, well, I want to compound my money, and I want to compound my money quickly. Okay, that's a fine goal to have. Do you have to use the mode of transportation of day trading to get there? Especially knowing that your current work environment sucks, right? Or is not conducive to day trading. Well, maybe we go with a different vehicle instead of taking the boat to your parents' house. Maybe we take the car, and the car for this person might be swing trading, right? Because with swing trading, you can do most of your work at night on weekends, set up orders with your broker. You don't even have to look at the market at all during the day, and your noisy coworkers and annoying boss won't matter as far as your trading business goes.
So it's really taking a hard look at what that actual trading goal is, and then seeing what is that right mode of transportation to get there.
Right, and so that's what your external environment becomes, right? So the physical space, right? The physical things in your environment. So and that's
the
yeah, it
people
could
in
be
your environment.
people, noise. I would also say things that you are watching, reading, and listening to. Are those types of things, right? So you're taking things in your physical environment, you're putting them into your internal environment, right? Because if you are consuming, I don't know, a great podcast, right? Then that's something that might have a positive effect on your trading.
And this is a great example too, because you're reading a book right now that
Oh
you
yeah,
said
yeah.
you were
I just
rereading.
finished rereading this one again. You can see all the. Yeah, if you're watching the YouTube, you're not seeing this really on the podcast, but you can see there's dozens of flags in this thing. It's highlighted. It's Mark Minervini's book, Think and Trade Like a Champion.
And this is and how many times have you read this now?
Yeah, a dozen or so.
And you're still probably getting new tidbits and new highlights from that book each time you read.
Yeah. So, yeah, every time that I read it, I learn I either pick up something that I didn't see the first time or the first 10 times, and or I will gain a fresh perspective on something that I already saw before, but or a third thing, it's getting reinforced.
And you mentioned something to me that if there's a great book that really inspired me, I just finished the Compound Effect by Darren Hardy, and it's true. If you really love a book and you get really inspired from it, why do you just read it once? Why not read it more than once, or like you mentioned, like a chapter each day to always start your day feeling motivated?
You could look at your external environment. So, when you are starting to assess, what's in your external environment, right? So first, step one was we got clear on our goal.
Mm-hmm.
Step two is we're taking inventory of all the different things around us. Maybe it's a book, maybe it's something else, and then you could, now that we're clear on the goal, we can say, is this leading me closer to or further from my goal? If my goal is to be the best trader on the planet, should I be reading a book like this, or should I be reading the comic section in
Newsday?
yeah, right? Which is going to lead me closer to the goal, right? If I'm spending all my time reading the funny pages, then that's probably not going to lead me to my goal. If I'm only spending, if I read a book like this once and I set it down and never read it again, then it might have been good for that time. But then, hey, if I say that, yes, you know what, this is a great book, and if I read it, I feel inspired and I actually perform better, then it doesn't mean that you have to spend every single day reading it, but maybe you spend 5 minutes reading something that you highlighted from a book that that motivated you or inspired you, or that you got some pearl of wisdom from, right? Maybe you work that into your day and you pull out your planner and you schedule that time.
That's a great way too, as you're making this checklist of what is actually in your environment. What if you do have this asshole boss, or you have all these negative people in your physical space right now, and you can't necessarily just cut them out of the equation, but you can still then see what can I fill in those gaps with more positivity.
So we want to right. So in taking inventory, first we're kind of seeing what's there. Then we could start to game plan what do we do about these things, right? This is on a scale of 1 to 10. This is a 10. Something else is an 8, but this nasty coworker is a 2.
Mm-hmm.
What can I do about this nasty coworker, right? And then that's where. By having the awareness of what's helping you get closer to the goal, okay, now I know that I could try to find more way, or not try, but make time for this. Subtle distinction there between trying, finding, and making, right? Making means that it's a priority. Trying means that it's not. So make the things that are positive in your environment, or things that you want to add to your environment. But make it a priority.
And this is actually, as I mentioned, the compound effect. Darren Hardy actually mentioned this, that even if right now you currently don't have this positive environment, there are ways that you can create that for yourself. Like for him, like he would live in I think San Francisco or in a neighborhood, but he always wanted to live in this more affluent area. So he would go there, get a cup of coffee at their cafe, or he would just surround himself with the type of people, because that was his goal, is that he eventually wanted to live that type of lifestyle. And so like it kind of like he surrounded himself with that type of positivity and that type of way of living, so that he can continue to strive toward that goal. And it gave him something to strive for. Like he saw this blue house on the hill, and he was like, you know, if I could have my dream house, that would be it. And then one day as he was driving, he saw a for sale sign. He was like, oh, I'm just gonna see what it is. And he drove up the steep slope, and it ended up being that blue house, and he bought it on the spot, because he knew like everything had led him to that, because he had visualized it in his mind. So it's kind of, if you're surrounding someone with just negativity and thinking that things aren't going to change, they probably won't. So you have to kind of like branch out and meet new people in order to create more of that positive environment. And it's so easy now with the social media, like you said, the podcast, like you can be able to connect with people in such a different way.
Being selective with what you put into your environment and being conscious about it.
Yeah.
All right, like so. Common thing in trading is like, oh, I need all the information. I need awareness, so I'm going to be on Twitter and all the time, and I'm going to have the news on in the background. And are these things truly helping you to your goal, or are they creating noise? Well, that's for you to decide. But are there other ways that are that could lead you to the same goal? Is there, say, side effects of these things that you think that you need that are leading you to your goal? So awareness, like, oh, like I'm have the news on all the time because I need awareness, and I'm keeping my social streams open because I need awareness. Well, then, what other side effects are there to that? Is it the car bringing you to your destination, or are you trying to drive a boat down the street? Like maybe it'll work, but there might be better ways to get there.
Oh, that's funny. I'm picturing you like a little rowboat trying to
like row your boat down the street.
But serious things, as a writer, I have other people have come to me and they say that like their family is not supportive of their writing goals or their writing dreams. I'm sure for traders they face that too. Maybe it's a spouse or a family member who they're close to that may not be very supportive of their journey, or wanting to quit their full-time job to trade full-time. And so I think that this is where this type of analysis and awareness is important, because maybe you need to understand like what is actually in your space. Like, you could be just subconsciously not even realizing how it's affecting you in your decision making.
Right. So once you have the awareness, then you're able to come up with better solutions for those things. Like if it's say a family member, it could be a little trickier. Like as far as to maybe reduce time with that person, not like for if it's in the same house, it could be a conversation with that person. Generally, I think that most people want the best for one another, and it's coming to an understanding.
And sometimes you play the story in your head of like how that conversation will play out, but the best thing to do is to be honest and to be able to have that conversation, and to say like if it's important to you that you really want to give it a shot, and that I think that's an important first step.
From everybody's perspective, I think that we think that we are good, so therefore, or like I'm right, so therefore you're obviously wrong. But
I have my mom. This is always right. Remember.
But if you lower that kind of expectation or that mindset, and you are thinking, let's go. Well, what's supportive for growth in this thing, or for a relationship, or that approaching it in that way.
Oh no, this is great because this actually reminds me. I think it was Darren, who said Darren Hardy, who also said this. Like you get what you tolerate, and I thought that really resonated with me because if you tolerate this boss, like berating you in in a meeting, or if you would tolerate a family member being dismissive of your dreams, like if you're tolerating that, then you're just going to accept that. But if you don't tolerate anymore, then you need to be able to be vocal. And because sometimes that means stepping back or limiting time or changing a job that may be toxic for you or changing careers. And I think that it really is important for you to really, find out what brings you happiness, what brings you joy, because maybe some of these people come into your life for different reasons throughout different phases of your life. Doesn't mean that you need to cut them out completely, but maybe they just aren't giving you the support that you need at different when you're changing, because you're constantly changing and evolving.
Yeah, I agree with Darren in that you get what you tolerate, and then the question becomes, well, how do you, what's the best solution for you to either change, like to bring full circle either your internal environment, how your perspective of this thing, right? Like so, you could believe whatever you choose to believe. So if you are in a job, let's say that you don't like, for years, I actually learned how to do this when I was a child, and it ended up not serving me later on in life.
What was it that you got?
Like an understanding that like whatever I choose to think, or that like my thoughts are in my control, and how I perceive something is within my control. So if I want to perceive something as being fun, then I can. If I want to enjoy something, then that's just my perspective. So having grown up with like not the greatest childhood, like poor, things like that, it, being able to just shift my perspective to those kind of like, oh, like what like it's up to me to be joyful or happy or whatever. So like I was able to do that at different times, despite a bad situation. But that could also lead to complacency if you're not careful. So I ended up selecting jobs that were comfortable before moving and starting to do this and that. That's how I ended up in a career that I wasn't happy with, because like, oh, like I'll just change my perspective and I'll pick a job that's in demand, that pays well, and those things seemed good at the time, but I was tricking myself into complacency.
It's so interesting because like you talk about internal versus external. Like that internal, you are in control, and like how you were able to visualize this in your mind that you wanted to be happy, this was going to be fun, even if it wasn't at the time, that you were in control of that. And it reminds me, I was just listening to John Tesh in the radio yesterday, and he said like laughter is the best medicine. It's actually proven. Like, you've heard this adage before, that laughter is the best medicine. If you actually force yourself to laugh, even when you're feeling really down or really out, and you force yourself to laugh, like you really like your body responds to it.
Yeah, see, you do
yes, and then you just feel good and you feel much better. So you're like, oh, anything that comes my way, I can tackle this. I got this. I think they also say that for smiling too.
Mm-hmm.
But that's very interesting. But I love the fact that we can control it, and it does go full circle. So I think you're right. Like the external and internal, they are connected. They are connected. How you want to perceive a situation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So for you guys, for next, I know we talked about a lot of things today.
Yeah.
And it's deep. It's deep. This isn't something that's easy. It's not something you're going to get from like the one time you listen to this podcast. Okay, now I'm able to go.
You might want to listen to it a couple of times.
Yeah, but there are some big next steps, like actionable items for you to do. The first thing would be to really be clear about why are you trading, like to have that awareness, like what is your actual goal. And the second thing is like write a checklist like I was doing today, like what is actually in your environment, like even just pick a day, pick yesterday.
Yesterday?
Pick a day.
Jump in the DeLorean, go back to yesterday, and do this exercise.
just go through what you did yesterday and write a checklist of like, who did I talk to? Like, what is it? The sum of the 5 people. You're the sum of the 5 people that you spend the most time with. The average. And think about, who do you spend most of your time with, and write that down. Are these people negative? Are they supportive? Like, what have they done lately to help support you to get to your goal? What about your work environment? What are you doing at your job? What are you consuming? What are you reading? Make a list of all these different things, and then do what Mike had mentioned, was that audit from 1 to 10. Is this book helping me get to my goal? Is this person helping to support me to get to my goal? Or who isn't helping me? And then you could come up with a game plan. And like I said, this might take some time, because some of those people, like I said, they could be a spouse, it could be a family member, it could be a father, mother, and start thinking about how are ways I can start having those conversations with them to be honest about that. Hey, this is my goal. This is what I really want to achieve, and I really would appreciate your help in helping me get there. And if they are supportive of you, great. And if not, so that's okay. Like, I thank you for, being honest, but, I need to then focus on my goal right now. And sometimes there is some tough decisions that you have to make in order to get to the other side. But if you have any comments about what you've learned today, please leave them for us. So we love to read them. And don't forget to subscribe to this channel. And for more great conversations, I think we should do a follow-up to this, because this is a really deep, but it's such an insightful conversation about beliefs and about... I know we focused on external beliefs, but maybe we could do one on just internal beliefs too. So maybe that's something we'll plan for you guys in an upcoming episode.
All right, sounds good.
All right, great. Well, thank you guys for stopping by, and hope you got a lot out of this show today.
Yeah, take it and run with it.
See you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.